All right, we're kicking off this episode of Minted with Arvin Khamseh, one of the best demand generation specialists in the NFT space. He's advised over 400 different projects. He spent over a decade of marketing in the centralized world and now has spent the last 4+ months helping artists, founders build and scale in the space. So super pumped to have you on the show today, Arvin. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's dive right into it. So when'd you first start learning about NFTs?
About, I want to say 2.5 years ago. That's when I first learned about them. I was actually researching a lot of things that's happening on social media platforms. And that's where I learned about it first. But then I thought that's a really cool concept, and knowing about cryptocurrencies, I was excited that something new came about, and I really wanted to just like get involved. But then it wasn't until there was this artist from Italy who reached out to me, and he had his collection. He had actually a very small collection. He had about 10 NFTs, and this is a kind of artist. He already had like physical artwork. And then he just turned like 10 of them into digital. And then he wanted to sell it. And back then, there wasn't a lot of regulations on Twitter for NFT ads. So we literally ran Twitter ads into OpenSea directly, and then sold out his thing in a week, his entire collection in a week. And then that, for me, that was proof of concept. I realized, I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly how to do this with NFT brands because I've been doing it with public companies. And that was my start into the NFT world.
Yeah, that's a unique start. I mean, not a lot of people get to combine the physical with the digital so early on. You know, so many people are like, why are they buying JPEGs? But your first impression was this artist with physical art, and the artist was like, okay, I want to take that. So when was that?
This is, I would say, beginning of 2021.
Okay. So just a year ago, you
About a
get
year
into
ago.
that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then do you start buying NFTs yourself, or are you just
Pretty much. So then I was like, okay, this is obviously a real thing. I guess maybe give you context. So back in 2016, really good friend of mine, he's from Ukraine. His name is Nick. And he literally sold everything he had, turned it into Bitcoins. Like he sold his car. And this guy wasn't he had he was working in a tech company. And he was getting like a salary, right? So it wasn't like he was an entrepreneur or anything, but like literally he just sold everything he had, and just had lots of Bitcoins. And then I thought that was crazy at the time. And of course I didn't do it. But then a few years later, I gave him a call and I'm like, hey, Nick, how is work? And he goes, what work? I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, he's no longer working. He's just like traveling around the world. He's completely retired. And then I was like, okay, so obviously I missed out on that like huge opportunity for Bitcoins. So when I learned about NFTs, this time I was like, no, like this is my time. Like I need to actually use this opportunity. And so I had that context. Plus, when I was a kid too, so I don't know if you know about like soccer cards. I used to trade soccer cards. Like we would play games with my friends. And then so for people who don't know what they are. So essentially think about like, I mean, I think there are baseball cards as well. There's all sorts of cards, but like you would, I guess we would play games with them. And then like, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo card had a higher status than other ones. So then I would want to have it. So then I would do whatever it takes to be able to get one of those, right? And so I understood the concept of rarity. And like having something rare and collect it. And then when I got into NFTs, I had that understanding. I was like, okay, I get the sense of an investor really wanting to have something that's so rare. And then I think that has helped me navigate my way through the Web3 to just have an understanding of like, okay, what is it actually meaning? Like when someone's saying, I want to buy this NFT, like why? And so, yeah, so that was my intro to crypto, and then also NFTs. And then of course I started just, buying and selling NFTs, although I didn't have the time And so my sister, she is essentially like my portfolio manager. So she would sit on everyone's like Discord, and then she would tell me like a summary of what's happening in everyone's Discord. And then I would be like, okay, let's buy this, let's buy that, sell this. And we made like obviously a bunch of money. But more importantly, it's my sister who is in her 20s, literally in a month, there was 1 month she made like 20K. And then just selling, just basically trading NFTs. And for first of all, I don't know a lot of 20-year-olds that make 20K a month, but also like the concept of someone who has zero knowledge in, well, actually, we had zero knowledge in NFTs to begin with, but also for her, zero knowledge in internet marketing, earning $1 online, investing, nothing. Like she had none of those. And then she was able to make 20K in a month. And that, to me, that was like the coolest thing I observed. And so I really like, since like there were a lot of signs, I think for me that made it that, hey, this is a great opportunity. And then, basically just double down and do everything you can in this community.
Arvin, you bring up a really great point, which is you can start with nothing knowledge
Right.
wise and just jump into Discord channels, listen into voice chats, and just learn from people. It's just like people are like, go read a book or go listen to a podcast or go watch a TV show. It's, you can consume so much information by just jumping in Discord channels. And I've actually joked that I wish there was some like AI technology that could scrape all the different Discord channels that I'm in every day and give like a synopsis of like, here is what happened in these 20 different Discord channels, but this is all that actually matters. This is minting on this day. Here's how many whitelist spots are available. If you want to get this whitelist spot, here's what needs to happen. Oh, by the way, we have an AI machine learning that's like already going through and submitting all the stuff needed to get a whitelist spot. Like, there are ways that I know I'm not smart enough, but you probably don't even need to be smart enough. You just need to execute that playbook that you could do that.
Yeah, and I mean, you could probably get a developer to build that for you, but I kind of had that idea too. After trading a few NFTs, I was like, this is a lot of work. I don't have time for this, and I definitely want to do this in volume. So then I was like, hey, sister, like basically just sit on these Discord channels. You tell me what's happening every day, and then we'll make decisions. Right. So I definitely see that value of at least having someone, unless maybe you find a software or some other projects that's doing this, but definitely, because there are alpha groups out there too. Like there are Discord servers you can join, and then they kind of tell you. I mean, to be fair, this is not regulated yet, but because I work with so many NFT projects, I kind of have the better alphas than anyone else, because I see literally everything that's happening before many other people. So about a day before someone's mint date, like I can tell, I know, like I can look at server insights for the Discord, right? I know exactly how many people reading their stuff. I know, I know exactly what's behind the scene for every project. So some people told me, they're like, you should just create your own alpha group, and it would just kill it. And I haven't done that, but it's definitely like, I mean,
you
yeah,
should. We had Champ T. So Champ T was the
yeah,
second guy that we had here on the podcast.
yeah,
And he, within a matter of 3 weeks, went from 0 followers on YouTube to 25,000 plus. He
yeah.
built his Champs Only Pass, sold out 1.2 million in 44 minutes. And that's what he does. You join it, and he just is he calls himself the NFT Steve Jobs, and he just is able to make these calls, be able to predict these projects, talk to founders, get whitelists. Yeah, you 100% are making this on this podcast, and I have the smart contractors. I'm sure you do as well. That should make this happen. But let's talk about that. So you say, I know the behind the scenes. How do you understand that? How do you know what the behind the scenes and what to actually look for is?
Yeah, I mean, well, the reason I say I know behind the scenes is just because these are projects I'm involved with. So they have to tell me all the secrets, right? So then I know exactly what's happening, and then also have access to their servers. So I know exactly like, what's exactly happening. So for example, let's say if you see, let's say a project, you're looking at the Discord server and you see there are a lot of people coming in, but you don't know if they're like real or they're not. But I can tell because I can see where they came from. Right. So there's, again, like for people who don't know, like server insights on Discord, you can have a lot of information, like what's the, let's say, percentage of like which country mostly people from, how many people are engaging, how many people just came in, how many people came in this week, over the past 10 days, how many people are actually reading a specific channel, so on and so on. So I have a lot of insight into specific things happening in their Discord. So I can kind of know and predict, be like, okay, I mean, I can see this. I know like this brand is going to sell out. And so typically I go buy their NFTs myself too. And so that's as far as.
What are those trends? Like if you see all of these people just joined and it's all from one country, is that
Yeah.
bad? Like as a
Yeah.
normal person, I can look at a Discord channel and look at these metrics myself too.
Yeah. I think, I mean, well, depends. So I guess I just unpack it for you. So as far as Discord, and maybe I'll just give you a bunch of metrics that anyone needs to market to be able to sell out, and then that will help you as an investor to know like what to look for. So Discord, you need to have 3 to 5 times the number of collection size as a member in your Discord. So let's say if it's a 10,000 collection size, you need to have at least 30 to 50,000 people in your Discord. So if I see a project that's not going to make it by that time, well, they're not going to be able to sell out. Like I know that, right? And I see if I see on their Discord server insight, I see, okay, every week they're making like, maybe they have 2,000 new members joining. They're not going to be like 80,000 by the end of the month. So that's just, simple math. But let's say, so that's as far as Discord, and you want to have at least minimum 10% online people to the total member. And so if that's lower than that, typically they bought Discord members, or they've been like shilling by having, let's say, people from overseas at $4 an hour, just going and just like bringing in fake members. So things like that you can tell, right, by just looking at without even Discord server insights. You can just like see how many people are online and just make a judgment. As for Twitter, you want to have about half of the collection size on Twitter. So if it's a 10,000, you want to have about 5,000. If it's a smaller, is okay, but you need to have minimum 0.5% engagement rate. So if it's not that, and if it's like a lot lower, again, they bought followers. And so a lot of NFT brands, they buy followers because of so we kind of talked about this, before this, but like business acumen is missing in this industry. A lot of people coming in, they're artists, or they just have like really good heart, or they have like really good vision, or they just like developer, but they're completely missing any sense of like business. And so a lot of times they look for shortcuts because that makes sense. Like if you don't have the experience in business, you would just look for something that's just easier and simpler and just, path of least resistance. So then what they typically think is that if you don't have any followers, no one's going to be the first. So then let's just buy followers. So then other people will feel comfortable joining. That's the worst thing any brands could do. So I typically, when brands come to me for consulting, I typically first of all ask them, like, tell the truth. This is your time to confess. How many people did you buy, right? And then what we do, we literally purge them. So whether it be it on Discord or whether it be it on Twitter, we say like all those people you got, it's not gonna feel good, but you're gonna get rid of them, because if you don't, well, first of all, other investors, they can make a judgment. They know, they're not stupid. They're like, how come these guys have like 10,000 people on their Twitter, but they get 1 like? That makes no sense, right? So everyone can tell that, right? You don't even have to have like any investing like experience. You just look at that and be like, this makes no sense. So then what they have to do instead, when they don't purge it, then they have to pay for more ads. And then, so that's even worse, because a lot of times people already don't have a good sense of like what they need to budget. So for example, someone comes in, they're like, I have $5,000, I have a 10,000 collection size, and I want to make $3 million by 3 weeks, right? And again, business acumen is missing. Like if that was the case, and let's say if I could advise people on doing that with $5,000, then wouldn't I be just doing that every day myself, right? Or like, wouldn't everyone do that? Like, so that's the thing. Those are some like very simple things that are just completely missing in this industry where people don't think about it, right? So, anyways, they buy these followers, and then I ask them to purge it. Now, with the third metrics to look for, so we talked about Discord, number of people in Discord, number of people on Twitter, and then also whitelisters. Now, this is more of a preference for me. So I like to advise people on having about half of the collection size in whitelist spots. But because I have a very specific way of wanting to basically sell out before the public sale almost. So this is how, like, for example, Frogos, NFT and National Park NFT, we sold out in like 7 minutes, 8 minutes. The way it works is whitelisters essentially wiped out 90% or even more of the entire collection, and then we went to the public sale. And then there was not many NFTs left. So some people came in, just bought those. In 7 minutes, we sold out. So that's to say, as an investor, if you see this brand, they have they made a rookie mistake of just saying, hey, we've got like 5,000 spots, and then there are 3 white spots that are actually taken. So whitelist spots that are actually taken, then that just means they're not going to be able to be successful with their whitelist day, right? So then no point investing in that project because they just haven't done the work, right? And if they haven't done it by, let's say, a week before their let's say public sale, they're just not going to do it. And so those are certain things that they're a good indicator of, hey, this project is going to do well or not. I mean, there are other things too, but those are some big ones. And I guess another point going off what happens with a lot of NFT founders when, and again, as an investor, if they know these things, they can also look for it too. But the NFT founders, sometimes they do a lot of work and it's just, they never done any sort of business. They're not entrepreneurs. They used to just be like clocking in, clocking out. So when they do a lot of work, they're tired. They just like now want to just like rest, right? They don't like, so they don't understand the fact that like, hey, like your community doesn't know that. And then also NFTs is not like, doesn't care about your feelings. So like, if you're just not doing the work, you're not going to sell out. It's just simple as that. And so unfortunately, I've seen a lot of projects where they do all the work, they hit all the metrics. And then let's say 5 days, 6 days before their public sale, they just coasting. And they're like, well, we've done a lot of work. Now we just need to like, and then they come up with the craziest things to do. Like they move, they travel. I'm like, you could have traveled anytime during this year. You only had like 6 weeks on this business project. Like, why would you do this now? Right. But like, I've actually seen this like a lot. So this is why I go on a rant on this, because it literally happens. Like one of these projects, literally 2 days before the public sale, they decided to move from one place to another place. And like, you could have just left it 5 more days. It would make zero difference in your life, but you decided to just do it right before. And you just didn't have the respect for your own project, right? So to just like spend time on it.
It's just like a start. It's like I always compare these NFT projects. I mean, obviously they're businesses. They're like they're business accelerators. Like you are building a business, taking it to market, getting people to spend, if you do it right, millions of dollars. And depending, I mean, most projects are probably 2 to 3 months, maybe a little bit longer. If you're building white paper and you want to make sure your art is right, you want to have the right partnerships, you want to make sure that you're hitting all your metrics correctly. It's like you can't just do 2 to 3 months and then pause. It's just like in any business, right? You have to continue growing. You need to build a team. I want to get an understanding of, you were working in the centralized, like corporate America. Like you were building, you were demand gen specialist for, some of the largest companies in the world on like B2B marketing.
Yeah.
How did you realize, I mean, obviously when you helped the person, the Italian
In
artist,
Italy.
yeah. How did you realize that skill set that you learned, that you did a decade of, would just copy right over into this industry?
Yeah. So, I mean, with public companies, I was doing investor relationship marketing. So it looked like essentially finding short-term and long-term investors. So we would say like, so we had avatars, like, for example, we would say like Max, the millennial, and then Gary, the long-term investor. So Max is the short-term investor, and then like Gary is the long-term. So we had like all sorts of avatars, and then we would spend like 500K plus a month on being on everywhere, like all sorts of ads, all sorts of platforms, whether it be native or just social media platforms, to get in front of these people, build a list of these people, literally the same thing, build a community of these people, and then just say, hey, invest, and then showing them a deck of this public companies and just say, hey, here's the opportunity. It's literally the same thing. Just like how you have the like light paper, you would have a deck, like investing deck. And then, so we would do this, and then investor would come in, invest. And actually something I did with public companies, which was not done commonly, which I had to fight for to do it. Like I would do text and email marketing with investors, and then in a way that they would get engaged. So it was actually very much like NFTs. So like, just like how you engage people on Discord, I would just send them things that would make them say like, oh, we really like this thing, or like, this is really cool that you guys doing this, which is not very usual in the with public companies, because public companies, they're trying to like just stay behind their name, and just like they never sign their emails with their own names. It's just always like this team or this company, blah, 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 so it's nothing personal, versus like I actually turned it very personal. And that resulted in one company that had the highest stock price over past 13 years. And then just because like there are all these new things we did, and then people would get excited, they would feel like connected, right? So I think a lot of that I brought into the NFT world, because I was like, okay, I know how to look for investors, I know what they're thinking, and I've shown them a lot of ads, I know what they respond to. And then I was like, okay, all I have to do, and also like I managed a lot of influencers in the past as well. So then to me, it was like, okay, all these things I've done, this is going to be completely relevant to the NFT world. And especially that, with just having some sort of understanding of like how businesses work, and just bringing lots of these small businesses, maybe they didn't exist, or like they were even in debt, all the way to like profitable. That helped me understand, be like, okay, there's certain things it takes for a business to actually operate well, to be able to profit. So I brought it to the NFT communities, and it worked out. It worked out really well.
So I want to talk about building your business in this new Web3 industry. So you realize, okay, I understand traditional investors. I want to go take this now to Web3, and you had that first client. Like, how did you find your footing to be like, all right, how am I going to build a brand? How am I going to find other projects? How am I going to choose how much to charge people? Like, walk me through how you began building your, centralized business of consulting in this
In
like
the
completely
Web3.
decentralized world.
Yeah. So I think in my case, at that point, I've already built a following. I had, so like on, just so people have a sense, like on online, I probably have about thousands of reviews of my work on different platforms. And so I was somewhat already popular for paid ads between SaaS companies, small businesses, public companies. So I was getting already a lot of requests. And then when I literally just like opened up a gig and said, hey, like I'm doing NFT marketing, like I had the first month, I had like 100 brands reached out. I mean, more reached out, but 100 brands became a client. And so, so I guess for me, it wasn't like something like that I did in a month. It was, all these years of like working and just like producing results. And then when I just practically just announced that I'm doing this, a lot of people were like, and this happened with a lot of like projects where, they would maybe hire me for the LinkedIn ads or Twitter ads. And then they were like, wait, you know about NFTs? That's cool. Like we have this project coming up, right? So I already had a following of clients, not even just like people who are just like fans or anything, like literally just a lot of clients. And then that, and with a lot of reviews as well, a lot of results, plenty of case studies. And then so when I just said, hey, I'm doing this to just my community itself, like I was already like completely booked. And you've seen my calendar, so
Yeah. So
yeah.
how did you man it? Like, that's it. Like, I could not imagine just flipping the switch. And then I mean, obviously, like you said, you built a book of business, you had trust that like
Yeah.
knew how to run ads across every
Yeah.
different platform, and you've
Yeah.
been proven successful. Like, how do you figure out how to scale that then? Like, how do you
Yeah.
scale? You get 100 inbounds. I'm like, I don't even know how I prioritize what to do next. And how do I
I
manage
think,
enough hours in
yeah.
the day to do that?
Honestly, I think that's a really good question, because there is no mentor in this. There is no class, there's no education, like literally nothing. So I remember even with that artist from Italy, when he said like, well, first of all, when he was talking about his NFT, I didn't even know what NFTs were, like really. Like he was just saying like, we're gonna mint this, we're gonna do this thing. And I was like, what is he talking about? And then so it's literally, I was just telling him, like, I was like, hey, listen, like, I understand marketing really well. If you just explain to me, like, in simple words, like what you're trying to do, I can do it. But like all these jargons and everything else, like, I have no idea, like, what you're talking about. So it took me some time to understand, first of all, like, what is happening in the NFT world itself. But to your point, I actually started going on Reddit, going on YouTube, Google, and I found nothing. Literally, there was zero information. And that was actually the same thing with when I was like doing marketing for public companies too. There was nothing. Like I could not find one piece of information about how to actually find people, like find investors, like short-term investors, long-term investors. What do you say in your emails? What kind of ads do you put in front of them? What objective do you pick for the ads? Like how much, like all those like metrics. So for example, how much should you pay for cost per click? What's the cost per acquisition to get a new investor on board? So when it came to actually building my NFT business, I had no one to tell me anything. So a lot of it was just because I've built a lot of businesses as their, let's say, chief marketing officer, their marketing director, so on and so forth. I just knew, okay, so there are certain things goes into your business. So, okay, so do you know your market? Do you know who they are? And I was like, okay, I kind of have a sense, like I understand these people now. And then what do they really want? What are the problems? Can you solve it? Great. Can you solve it on scale? That's awesome. And then how do you now I didn't have a marketing problem. I literally advertised nothing for my business. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So all of it came, and I still, to this date, I still haven't advertised. And so I will eventually, but I still didn't have to, because I already had a lot of, like, I had influx of people coming to me for online paid ads. So that I already had it. And again, that also wasn't just like God-given thing. Like I was working for this for years. And then I had built a profile, social media presence online that allowed me to have that. And it was actually kind of like flipping a switch. I literally sent out an email to all my people that have done consulting with me and said, hey, now I'm doing this. And then like lots of people just came. So
What platforms are you using? I mean, I know that, how we booked this, you had some
yeah,
scheduling app platform.
yeah.
What type of technology and programs are you using to help run all of this?
Yeah, so Go High Level is a software I use. That's what I've used for my calendars as well. In fact, my course is on it. Sold Out NFTs is literally on it as well. I do have some problems with it as far as my course. It's not like Kajabi. I've used Kajabi in the past for courses. That's really cool. But like, for example, one challenge I have, like I can't take people out of my course. So like if someone accidentally, like let's say if my, it's probably not good for me to share this publicly, but if accidentally someone shares my login link with someone else, like literally everyone can join. Like the entire universe can join without me knowing. And so we had that one time where I had to actually like remove someone, but I can't. Like I couldn't remove this person. So he's like, he just had access to my course. But so I think there's like challenges obviously with this. And I'm still investigating and figuring things out. But the reason I was using Go High Level was because I already had my entire CRM on there. So I just wanted to make it simple. I didn't want to have a lot of different software. And again, working at SaaS companies, it's like a running joke. For every problem, they have a new software. And so we would have like, hundreds of software that we would use for every different things. So I've actually taken the approach of like trying to not to have multiple software, just have one. So for example, Go High Level, I use it for my scheduling. I use it for CRM. I use it for calling people, messaging people. Literally everything is in emails. Everything is in one platform for me. It's very simple. So that's why I use that. And also like even emailing my clients, communication, everything, literally everything. I do it from same software.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. I mean, I think your technology stack allows you to be effective and efficient with your time. When you're in meetings from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., it's like, when do you have time to organize stuff? And it's, so important to these NFT projects of you have to have some internal business process, whether you're
Yes.
using Google Sheets and you're using Google Slides and you're building everything in that centralized platform, and then you share all of that into a Discord community. I mean, having you have to have some trusted central document. Do you find that a lot when you're advising your clients on the marketing? It's like, where are you keeping your metrics? Where are you storing your data? How are you
Yeah.
measuring the efficacy of what you've run, right? That's got to be stored somewhere.
Yeah. And it's really cool. I think I've seen like e-commerce businesses, they're very organized. They have like everything in spreadsheets. Most of the small businesses I work with, they had nothing. So it would be like, well, I feel like this ad is working, or I feel like this ad is not working. I think like we should stop the ads. And actually I get that with like NFT brands too. Like they, again, business acumen is missing, right? So they don't have the experience with marketing. So they'd be like, hey, let's run some IG ads. And then we run it. And then a few days later, they're like, no one's talking about IG ads. Let's just turn it off. And then like, wait, it's just been 3 days. Like, what are you expecting? And then 5 days later, someone says, this literally happened. Like someone would say on their Discord, be like, oh, that was awesome. Like I came from Instagram because I saw your ads, and be like, yeah, IG ads are working. Let's just run it. I'll go full force. Right. So that's literally like, this is, I guess it's actually good for like NFT brands. So if they're listening, like your competition is not very complex, like in terms of like marketing. They're people who don't have a lot of experience actually in marketing, unless they have a marketer. And so if they just have the smallest experience in business, it's just gonna give them that edge. But yes, going back to like processes, I made it like I had a process for myself, because I was not doing this with my assistant actually at the time. I was doing it myself, like with scheduling. So I, like, for example, give you an example. So what was happening at the beginning, I would send this calendar link to people. They didn't know what to do with it. They'd be like, first of all, what is this? And then they would click on it. They'd be like, well, what is your time zone, Arvin? I'll be like, well, you can just pick your time zone. You don't have to know my time zone. Like, why are you asking about my time zone? Who cares? And then, so that happened long enough where I would just make make a blurb of everything that people were asking, right? I'll be like, you do not need to know my time zone. Your time zone is going to be there, right? So that's like one of the notes under that link. Second one would be like, okay, can we book like two? Be like, well, if you want to book two, this is how you do. So like, you just get feedback from people, and then you just include it in like what's happening. So this is how I did it. Like a lot of times it was just stumbling my way through understanding what's the process, and I just like built my own process by just going through so many people. using my processes and just giving me feedback, be like, we didn't even know this was a Zoom like link. Where was it? And then so on every single email and text reminders I would send them, be like, this is gonna be a Zoom meeting. And it's going to be happening in the Zoom. Like, do not call me. So yeah, just like that.
Arvin, where can someone, if they want to build, create, if they have questions, like how can people find you? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Perfect. So it's Arvin K NFT on Twitter. And my website is also Sold Out NFTs. So that's SOLDNFTS.io. So soldoutnfts.io. And then my handle is ARVINKNFT. Very responsive on Twitter. And it's myself just responding to everyone. And then I'm on other socials as well, but again, Twitter, most responsive.
I love it. So I mean, as we come closing, what are some thoughts that, if we didn't cover today that you'd love to share with people that are, just trying to get into the space, or maybe they're in the space and trying to build, what would be some final thoughts that you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still a good time to get in for everyone, whether it be it as an investor or just creating your own collection. There's still a lot of, so I guess just give you guys some like internal data or I guess internal like inside information. So for example, Twitter, Instagram, all these platforms, when I get on calls with them, they're still trying to figure out like what to do with NFT brands. And so they still haven't figured out like completely just what they're gonna do. Like for example, on Twitter, like if you're a play to earn project, you cannot advertise on Twitter right now. Or like if you have anything about tokens or DAO, right now you cannot advertise, which is actually a lot of people. I think it's still a good time because there's still, so point being, it's going to get more regulated. The more time passes on, it's going to get even more regulated. So back then when that guy from Italy, we ran ads directly to OpenSea, no way in hell like anyone's going to be able to do that ever again. And we can't do it obviously right now. But I think a lot of things we can do right now, it won't be available in, let's say, 3 months, 6 months. So I think time is of the essence, like getting in, whether it be as an investor or an NFT project. I think it's a good time to get in. Not a financial advice, but it's a great time to get in. And then down the line, I think everything changes. Like when all the big companies come in, I think it won't, like, for example, let's say with Alien Friend, every Alien Friend that I had, I would buy for like $500, sell it for 10K. I don't think in a year time, we will be able to do trading NFTs like that, 10X and 20X things. I don't think that's the case because I think it's just going to be crowded, more regulations, and not going to be as many loopholes. Everything is going to be figured out, right? So I think that is probably the very important thing for people to think about. It's just time.
Yeah, I think it's so true. It's never too late to get in. And I would say from a marketing perspective, I've really enjoyed Invisible Friends. I think they're one of the coolest launches that I've seen more recently. Are there any projects that are coming up that are not giving away anything that you're super pumped about and you're excited to see them come to life?
Yeah, actually, there are plenty of them, of course, but there are two projects specifically that actually, to your point, they're trying to make it accessible for people to get into the Web3, especially. So for example, Tribex is project that they care about like minorities getting into investing, but also like a lot of people who didn't make money when Web2 came, they're like, so they regret that, or like they kind of missed out. Now they're providing a lot of information and a lot of platforms for people to be able to get into Web3. This time they profit, right? Wall Street Fam, similar concept. They're trying to make it accessible for people. Again, a lot of articles, a lot of software tools for people like busy professionals. They don't know anything about NFTs or trading NFTs to get into Web3 and be able to invest, and then also just still do their 9 to 5, still be a mom, still be a parent, right? Which is majority of people. So I think those are actually really cool projects as far as what they're doing. A lot of other projects out there also like really cool, but I think there's just a lot of like the same going on with a lot of different projects. Just, they have their animal artwork, and then there's some DAO happening and some like play to earn, and then they're going to metaverse as well. So I mean, it's just like, okay, everyone's doing that. So I like when projects, they have something new they're adding to the entire community.
I love that. Well, Arvin, thank you so much for being on the podcast. There's so much gold, so much knowledge. If someone's trying to market themselves, learn and build in the space, you definitely are someone that they should be following. And I'm so appreciative that you took the time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.